Revealed, the incredible journey of a black mechanic who changed his life and won a CEO's heart. In the heart of Willow Creek, Elijah stood as a beacon of hope. A simple mechanic, he had turned his small auto shop into a cherished community hub, where laughter and motor oil mixed in a warm embrace. Raised by a proud single mother, a veteran who had taught him the value of hard work and dedication, Elijah had become living proof of the American dream. Yet, amid the grease-stained overalls and friendly banter, whispers of prejudice shadowed him like an unwelcome cloud. Every car that rolled into Elijah's shop felt like family. It wasn't just about fixing tires or engines for him, it was about connection, about serving the community. Neighbors would gather, sharing stories of their lives while Elijah got to work, the rhythm of his tools dancing alongside their laughter. Memories were forged in that shop, where the scent of oil was laced with genuine care, but the winds of change were blowing through Willow Creek. Avenue Tech, the looming tech giant, was set to gentrify the town, driving up rents and pushing out beloved small businesses. The news sent shockwaves through the tight-knit community, hearts pounding with anxiety over losing the town's soul. In the thick of this uncertainty, Elijah felt the weight of two worlds colliding, his passion for community clashing with the allure of success. It was at a town charity event where fate threw Elijah a curveball. Grace, the ambitious CEO of Avenue Tech, stepped into the room like a whirlwind. Confident yet approachable, their eyes locked amid the crowd and electricity sparked. They exchanged words that night, laughter bubbling from shared jokes. Its warmth lingered long after their parting. In that moment, Elijah felt hope blooming like wildflowers across winter fields. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the weeks went by, Elijah and Grace's romance blossomed against the background of escalating tension. While neighbors whispered about gentrification and the danger it posed, Elijah found himself torn. His shop, his heart, and the community were at stake. A sudden injustice loomed, a threat like a black cloud that could snatch away everything he'd built. The landlord's eviction notice was a cruel slap in the face, a wake-up call that echoed in Elijah's chest. With fear thrumming through him, Elijah rallied his neighbors. Voices once drowned in whispers grew louder, igniting the spirit of unity that had always filled Willow Creek. This was not just about a mechanic's shop, it was about standing up against a tide that threatened to wash away their history and heart. The showdown was set, palpable tension filling the air as he faced the landlord and the prejudice that had defined their town for too long. Standing with his community behind him, Elijah found strength he never knew he had. He wasn't just fighting for his shop, he was fighting for the very fabric of Willow Creek, for laughter, for connection, for love. As the crowd roared in solidarity, hope surged, a tidal wave ready to break through the walls built by fear. But when the dust settled, unanswered questions lingered in the air, echoing like a haunting melody. Would Elijah's fight save his shop? Would love prevail in this uncertain world? The sunset cast golden rays over the gathering crowd, filled with anticipation and unease, leaving everyone, including Elijah and Grace, grasping for answers as they teetered on the edge of change. The sun slipped behind the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, but the warmth in Elijah's heart was anything but fading. The air buzzed with tension, the crowd's energy a palpable force as they formed a circle around Elijah. He stood on the steps of his auto shop, emotions swirling within him, determination, fear, and a flicker of hope. His neighbors, familiar faces of all ages, stared back at him, eyes shining with a mix of uncertainty and trust. Tonight, Elijah began, his voice shaky yet resolute, we stand together. This shop is not just my life, it's our life. It's the spirit of this community. As he spoke, memories flooded his mind, children laughing as they helped wash cars, elderly couples sharing stories while waiting for oil changes. Each moment had woven a thread into the fabric of Willow Creek, binding its people closer together. Whispers of agreement rippled through the crowd in acknowledgement of shared history and dreams. Elijah felt the power of those connections, grounding him. Encouraged, he continued, facing gentrification isn't just about losing a building, it's about losing a heartbeat, our heartbeat. Grace stood just outside the circle, her features a mixture of admiration and anxiety. She had watched Elijah grow more passionate, grand waves of emotion crashing against the fact that her company was the one at the helm of the storm. Inside, she wrestled with herself. Did her vision for advancement clash with the dreams in Elijah's heart? Would her feelings for him distort the judgment she needed to make as a leader? Suddenly, voices from the back of the crowd broke through her thoughts. An older woman, arms crossed defiantly, shouted, "We won to let them take our home. We're not going anywhere." The crowd erupted with cheers, their collective spirit igniting the air, filling the space with solidarity. Elijah reveled in their unity. Hope blossomed further, wrapping around him like a warm embrace. As evening deepened, Elijah decided to lead a march to the town hall. With conviction in his steps, he recalled stories of the town's ancestors, the struggles and triumphs etched into its history. Let us show them we're not just mechanics and shop owners, we're community warriors. He announced, rallying his neighbors. His words sparked the air like fireworks. Before he knew it, they were on the move, their footsteps echoing through the quiet streets of Willow Creek. The path felt both familiar and renewed, as their voices sang a collective anthem to the night. Each shout, each chant, fueled Elijah's resolve, and every smile from his neighbors reminded him of what was truly at stake. But as they approached the town hall, an unsettling thought lodged itself in his mind. What if the landlord, backed by Avenue Tech, was waiting for them? Would they be met with allies, or with cold indifference? A knot tightened in his stomach as the building came into view, shadows swirling like futures left unspoken. Grace grabbed Elijah's hand, grounding him as they reached the steps. "Elijah, whatever comes next, we face it together." Her grip, warm and reassuring, sent shivers down his spine. Could they really unite their worlds, her corporate ambitions and his community love? The door of the town hall creaked open, and silence fell over the crowd. Elijah's heart raced, fear and hope intermingling in a dizzying dance. What awaited them inside? The night held possibilities as vast as the stars, yet unpredictable as the tides. Would they unlock change, or see their beloved Willow Creek slip further away? As he stepped forward, ready to face whatever lay beyond, a thought shimmered in his mind. Had that spark between him and Grace been enough to bridge the gap? The answers waited in the shadows, just as the future loomed ahead, uncertain yet filled with promise. The air inside the town hall was heavy with anticipation, a stillness that contrasted sharply with the energy outside. As Elijah stepped over the threshold, he felt every gaze on him, the hopeful faces of his community surrounding him like a protective cloak. A long wooden table dominated the hall, flanked by local officials and a few unfamiliar faces, the representatives from Avenue Tech. Elijah's heart sank slightly when he noticed them, tension knotted in his stomach. Grace stood beside him, her presence like a beacon of strength. She nudged him gently, and he turned to her. "Remember, just speak from your heart," she whispered, her eyes filled with encouragement. He nodded, drawing strength from her gaze, but it didn't quite banish the uncertainty swirling in his mind. As the murmurs of the crowd faded, the mayor, a stern figure with a reputation for tough stances, cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to discuss the latest proposals by Avenue Tech. Concerning those proposals will dismantle our community." Elijah's voice rang out, startling even him. He stepped forward, passion igniting within him. "This shop isn't just concrete and steel. It's our history, our stories, and our future. We are not numbers on a balance sheet, we are the heart of Willow Creek." He was met with a chorus of applause, the sound reverberating off the walls, filling him with a sense of purpose. But the sharp gaze from the Avenue Tech representative sent a chill through him. This was just the beginning. "Mr. Temple," the representative said, a calculated calm in her voice. "We understand the community's concerns, but progress requires change. We need to evolve. Her words dripped with corporate jargon, and Elijah could feel the rumbles of discontent behind him. "The only change we want is for our voices to be heard," shouted a man from the back, inciting another round of claps and cheers. Elijah glanced back at his neighbors, their faces alive with spirit. Strengthened by their energy, he took a deep breath. "This isn't about resisting change. We want development that includes us, not erases us. Willow Creek can thrive without losing what makes it special." As he spoke, he caught Grace's eye again. This time, there was a spark of understanding. She stepped forward, a small grin escaping her lips as she joined him at the front. "I may work for Avenue Tech, but I'm also part of this community. I can advocate for both sides. Together, we can find a pathway that honors our past while looking towards the future." The room buzzed with surprise and murmurs. Elijah could hardly believe what he was hearing, yet in that moment, he felt a shift. If Grace could stand at the intersection of their two worlds, perhaps others could too, but the mayor intervened, raising a hand. "This is commendable, but we need actionable plans, not just promises. We will hold a forum next week to gather ideas." The crowd erupted in chatter, and Elijah felt the weight of the moment bearing down. The battle wasn't over, this was merely a step towards hope or disaster. He stepped back, overwhelmed. Would a single forum be enough? For a brief moment, Grace squeezed his hand, her warmth igniting courage within him. "We'll figure this out," she whispered, but the uncertainty of what lay ahead loomed in Elijah's heart. As they left the hall, surrounded by a sea of voices, Elijah knew something deeper was changing not just in Willow Creek, but within himself. The future felt daunting, yet one undeniable truth lit a fire in his chest: they were in this together. The road ahead remained uncertain, but as Elijah glanced at Grace beside him, a new question formed in his mind: could love itself be a force powerful enough to transform their divergent worlds into something beautiful? Elijah stepped into the late afternoon sun, the warmth wrapping around him like a comfort blanket. The energy in the air buzzed with possibility, lined with uncertainty. Their voices filled the street, a mixture of hope and frustration that echoed against the town hall's walls. Yet, the uplifting applause from the meeting still hummed in his ears, a reminder that they had made a dent in the ongoing battle. Grace walked beside him, her fingers still intertwined with his. "You were incredible," she said, eyes shining with admiration. Her smile banished doubt momentarily, and he felt a surge of pride swelling in his chest. "Thanks, I just spoke what I felt," he replied, though self-doubt gnawed at him. Did they say enough? Would it matter? With each step, he kept reminding himself that this was only the first round. As they moved through the crowd, he overheard snippets of conversations. Neighbors discussed strategies and ideas, and a sense of unity began to rise. They believed in change, and for the first time, so did he. Next week's forum, Grace began, looking thoughtful. "It could be an opportunity. If we combine everyone's ideas, maybe we can show Avenue Tech a viable way forward without losing everything." Elijah nodded, but there was still worry etched on his forehead. What if they ignore us again? What if they don't take our ideas seriously? They seem set on their plan. Grace paused, eyes locked onto his. "Then we push harder. We have to make them listen." There was fire in her voice. Their conversation was interrupted as Maggie, a spirited elderly woman from the community, approached them. "Elijah. Grace. That was something. You both lit a spark." She thumped him lightly on the back, her auburn bun bobbing with the motion. "I've got some ideas for next week. Why don't we gather everyone and organize a meeting before the forum?" A smile broke through Elijah's concerns. "Absolutely, Maggie. You're right. We can't just sit back and let things happen." They made plans to meet that weekend, excitement bubbling as people started exchanging contact information. The chattering filled the air with renewed energy and the spirit of collaboration. They were no longer just a group of patrons of the shop, they were a community bound by a shared purpose. As the sun dipped low, casting a warm gold light across the town, Elijah and Grace strolled to the park, hand in hand. "You know," Elijah said, "I didn't think I'd find something so real in the chaos of all this." Grace turned to him, warmth radiating from her smile. "It's what we fight for, what we build together." At that moment, he felt a tug in his heart. Could love pave the way for change? Suddenly, a group of teenagers wandered by, laughing and chatting. One pointed at Grace and shouted, "Hey, isn't that the Avenue Tech girl?" Elijah felt his heart race as he glanced at Grace, unsure how she would respond. He held his breath. Would the weight of their conflicting worlds break the bond they were trying to build? Grace's laughter rang out, bright and genuine. "Yes, but I'm also the voice of this community," she shouted back, a defiant glint in her eye. Relief washed over Elijah, then pride surged. Watching Grace confidently embrace her role, he knew they were forging something monumental. It was not merely about resisting change, it was about molding it into something better. As they walked deeper into the park, more aware of the world around them, the once clear road began to twist with uncertainties. The future was unknowable, but with Grace by his side, they were ready to take on whatever lay ahead. Elijah looked up at the orange glow hanging in the sky, feeling a renewed sense of determination. If only they could channel this energy into something meaningful. What could it lead to? As doubt crept back, he glanced at Grace again, knowing they had a fight ahead to protect Willow Creek. Would their love be enough to bridge the gap between their worlds, or would they find themselves standing on opposing sides when the time came to act? The next day dawned with an electric hum in the air. Elijah could feel it in his bones. Today was the day they would gather. With a coffee in one hand and his phone in the other, he paced their kitchen, his mind racing with thoughts of the meeting. The excitement mingled with a tinge of anxiety. Grace's voice broke through his musings as she entered the room, her hair tumbling down her shoulders in carefree waves. "Are you ready?" she asked, a playful smile dancing on her lips. "More or less. Just thinking about how everyone will show up," he replied, shooting her a half-hearted grin. "What do you think? Will they come through?" "I believe they will." Her eyes sparkled with determination. "This is about all of us, not just you and me. It matters." Elijah nodded, appreciating her unwavering confidence. He glanced at the clock, realizing they had to be out the door soon. As they drove to the community center, he felt a buzz of energy coursing through him. The streets were alive with people starting their day, and it felt like the town was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. When they arrived, the center was already buzzing. Chairs were moved into a circle, and faces he recognized were filling in the gaps. He felt a wave of warmth wash over him as he exchanged nods and smiles with neighbors. This was the first step toward change. Elijah took a deep breath, the earlier doubts falling away. As Maggie arrived, she waved fiercely, almost bouncing toward them. "I've been gathering more ideas," she said, eyes alight. "We'll need all the input we can get to show Avenue Tech we mean business." Grace squeezed his hand, and together they walked to the front of the room. Elijah felt the weight of their shared hopes resting on his shoulders. "Thank you all for being here," he began, his voice shaky but growing stronger. "Today isn't just about us, it's about our future." The room filled with nods and murmurs of agreement. They broke into smaller groups, brainstorming ideas and strategies. Laughter mingled with the sounds of serious discussions as they sought ways to unify their vision. Each person shared their concerns and hopes, and with every voice added to the chorus, Elijah's earlier worries began to dissipate like morning fog. When they regrouped, it became clear that everyone had something to bring to the table. Ideas flourished, from protests to petitions, each more creative than the last. Elijah caught Grace's gaze from across the room, and she winked at him, her enthusiasm infusing him with new energy. "Let's make a press release," one neighbor suggested, rallying the group's attention. "We need to make sure we're heard." The idea sparked cheers, and Elijah felt his heart swell. This fight for Willow Creek was becoming more than just about opposing Avenue Tech's plans. It was about heart and soul, the very essence of what made their community vibrate. As they wrapped up, Elijah noticed the sun waning outside the windows. The day had transformed into something monumental, filled with purpose and clarity. "This is just the beginning," he said, his voice strong. "Together, we're going to show them what we can do." As applause erupted around him, his spirits soared. They had created two distinct paths, one leading to fear and resignation, the other paved with hope and a bright future, but as they began to disperse, a shadow fell across Elijah's resolve. Would Avenue Tech recognize their determination? He could already picture the boardroom filled with suits, dismissing their efforts. "Hey," Grace nudged him gently, sensing his growing worry. "We'll be ready for anything. We've got this." Her voice held him steady, but there was an unshakable knot in his stomach. Would the board take their voices seriously? Or were they simply plotting to silence the rising tide of change? "There is something more coming, I can feel it," he whispered, looking out at the gathering dusk. "We can't let them underestimate us." The weight of uncertainty lingered as Elijah took Grace's hand, their fingers laced tightly. Their journey had only just begun, but would love and community be enough to fuel their fight? And with that thought hanging in the air, a text buzzed on his phone, the screen lighting up with a message from an unexpected source. Could it change everything? Elijah's heart raced as he glanced down at his phone. The familiar name lit up the screen, Skylar. It was his old friend from high school, someone he hadn't heard from in years. The message read, "Hey, Elijah. I heard what you guys are planning. I might have some intel on Avenue Tech's plans. Call me." A rush of conflicting emotions coursed through him. On one hand, this could be the break they needed, the information that might turn the tide in their favor. But on the other, he wondered what it meant for him. Skylar had moved to the city, and their lives had diverged so much since those carefree days. Would he come with strings attached? Grace noticed the shift in his expression. "What's up? You look like you just saw a ghost." "It's Skylar," Elijah replied, his voice a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. "He wants to talk about Avenue Tech." I don't know if I should." "Why not?" Grace asked, her eyes narrowing. "He could be your advocate. This could be what we need." Elijah stood frozen, torn between the past he shared with Skylar and the future they were trying to shape. Memories surged, laughter over video games, late-night talks about dreams. But wasn't he a different person now? The stakes felt higher. What if he's just trying to sell us something? Or worse, maybe he wants in on the action for personal gain. Or maybe he genuinely wants to help, Grace countered. "You know him. Deep down, he's a good guy. Maybe this is his way of reconnecting." The thought sent a pang of nostalgia through him. Was this the universe colliding their paths again? He sighed, overwhelmed, his mind racing. "I'll think about it," he finally muttered, unsure if he truly believed it. As they walked to their car, Elijah's heart struggled against the hopeful anticipation. The wind picked up, whipping around them like a storm brewing. He still felt the pressure of the community's hopes on his shoulders. But could he ruffle the waters of his past? He had always been good at avoiding complications. This might prove far more daunting. Later that evening, after dinner, he found himself sitting at the edge of the bed, staring at his phone. Grace had drifted off to sleep, her face soft and peaceful, contrasting starkly with the chaos in his mind. He couldn't shake the feeling that this conversation could unravel so much. Finally, he took a deep breath and hit the call button. The phone rang twice before a familiar, warm voice answered, laced with a hint of surprise. "Elijah. It's been forever." "Yes, it has, Skylar," he managed, forcing the tension from his voice. "I got your message." Their conversation unfolded slowly, like hesitating footsteps on the edge of a cliff. Skylar explained his reasons for reaching out, his own issues with Avenue Tech. They were moving in to buy out smaller mechanics in the city, something he now regretted being a part of. Elijah listened carefully, absorbing the information that could be invaluable, but there was something deeper in Skylar's voice, a yearning to reconnect, to reminisce, to heal the old wounds of friendship. It stirred another swirl of emotions in Elijah's chest. "Why now?" he asked, cautiously probing. "I thought you'd never ask," Schuyler replied, his tone shifting. "I was in town and saw the community center. I saw all the planning on social media. It reminded me of who we were, who we wanted to be. I want to help this time." A flicker of hope ignited in Elijah's heart, tangled with anxiety. Could he trust Schuyler again? Questions floated around his mind as he steeled himself. "If you're serious about helping, there's a meeting next week. We could use you. Count me in. I'll get you what I can," Schuyler promised. As they hung up, Elijah felt an uneasy mix of relief and apprehension. The journey ahead was more complicated than he anticipated, but the possibility of an ally stirred something inside him. Could reconnecting with old friends empower their cause? The next day, Elijah woke up feeling strangely optimistic. Standing by the window, he took a deep breath, gazing out as the world lit up. But just as that spark of hope started to settle, a thought crossed his mind: could Schuyler truly be the ally they needed, or was he entwining their cause with unforeseen risks? Elijah turned to Grace, who was making breakfast in the kitchen. What if Schuyler can't be trusted? He mused aloud, a frown forming. "Then we'll figure it out, together," she said, her voice steady and encouraging. "But let us not dismiss the potential of what he might bring." Elijah nodded, feeling the pulse of determination still beating strong, but uncertainty loomed large. The stakes of trust were rising, and the battle to save their community was far from over. Would he make the right choice? Could this old friend become the ally they needed? And the question hung heavily in the air: what would happen when old friendships collide with newfound responsibilities? The next few days progressed in a blur of anticipation and worry. Elijah found himself caught between the excitement of rekindling an old friendship and the weight of his new responsibilities. The meeting at the community center loomed large on his calendar, a date poised to bring change, but also uncertainty. Each time he thought of Schuyler, the mix of past memories and future possibilities swirled in his mind like a half-formed dream. Grace kept nudging him, reminding him to stay optimistic. They spent evenings revising their proposal for the community center, brainstorming the best approaches to present to the residents. But in the quietest moments, when he lay in bed or stared out the window, his subconscious wrestled with doubts. Was this rekindled bond a blessing or a curse? On the day of the meeting, the energy in the community center was palpable. Elijah arrived early, straightening chairs and rearranging tables in hopes of getting everything just right. He knew how much was at stake. The small group of community members began to trickle in, their faces filled with familiarity, concern, and hope. Grace walked in behind him, her hair pulled back, her face glowing with determination. "You ready for this?" she asked, stretching her arms. "As ready as I'll ever be," Elijah replied, his fingers tapping nervously against his leg. With just minutes to spare, Schuyler arrived, breezing through the door with an unmistakable air of confidence. Elijah's heart skipped. It wasn't just the familiar face, it was the way Schuyler carried himself, like he belonged in this moment. They hadn't spoken in years, yet it felt like an undeniable pull between them. "Elijah!" Schuyler called out, his smile wide and genuine, instantly lighting up the room. "Schuyler!" "Thanks for coming," Elijah replied, trying to mirror the enthusiasm while keeping his voice steady. Their eyes locked for a moment, a mix of excitement and old unspoken words settled between them. Elijah led Schuyler to the front, presenting him to the small audience. He could see curiosity on the faces of the attendees, murmurs of wonder buzzing in the background. Schuyler spoke candidly, sharing his past with Avenue Tech and his regret about how they treated the local mechanics. "This isn't just about business for me. It's about feeling at home again," Schuyler said, his voice steady and clear. "I want to help this community thrive, not crumble under the weight of corporate interests." Elijah watched as the crowd leaned in, nodding in agreement. Schuyler's passion started to weave a genuine connection with the people. Hope surged in Elijah's chest. Maybe this was what they needed, someone who not only understood but had experienced both sides of the coin. As the meeting progressed, discussions became heated but constructive, their ideas bouncing off each other like an electrifying lightning storm. Elijah felt a sense of camaraderie growing, both with the audience and with Schuyler. With every anecdote, every laugh, the old bond began to stitch itself together again, almost effortlessly. But as the meeting wound down, one question from a longtime resident prickled at Elijah's confidence. "Can you really be trusted, Schuyler? After what you've done?" The room fell silent, eyes shifting uneasily between Schuyler and Elijah. Time seemed to freeze. Schuyler took a deep breath, his expression earnest. "I know I've made mistakes in the past. But those experiences have taught me what it means to stand by my community and fight for it. I want to do better, be better together with you all." Elijah held his breath, the tension palpable. Could Schuyler's sincerity bridge the gap of the past? Just then, Elijah felt the weight of the community's eyes on him. This wasn't just about the meeting, it was about trust, about rebuilding a life not just for himself, but for everyone around him. The crowd began to whisper amongst themselves, deliberating over the revelations. Elijah knew they needed more than words. They needed action. "What do you say we give this a try?" Elijah asked, courage filling his voice. "Let us hold each other accountable and work towards something real." The room erupted in a chorus of agreement, but doubt still loomed. Elijah's heart raced, a rush of hope and concern flooding through him. But what if it all falls apart again? He thought. Schuyler met Elijah's gaze, an understanding passing between them. The road ahead was uncertain, but the flicker of trust sparked a tentative partnership. As the dust settled from the meeting, Elijah knew they were standing at a crossroads. They could either forge ahead together, or risk losing everything. Was this the beginning of a new chapter, or just a retelling of old mistakes? The question lingered in the air as they left the community center, hearts pounding, friendships hanging by a thread, and the future only just beginning to unfold together or apart. The following weeks danced between hope and uncertainty, like a fragile thread stretched too thin. Elijah immersed himself in planning sessions with Schuyler and Grace, the trio often bouncing ideas amidst stacks of notes and coffee cups. Each day brought small victories, a pledge from a local business to support their initiatives, or a new volunteer eager to contribute. But with each step forward, doubt loomed in the back of Elijah's mind. Was this truly building something lasting, or were they merely performing a dance on borrowed time? Schuyler blended seamlessly into the community. He attended events, casually chatting with members, and even lent a hand at the local workshop, much to the delight of the residents. Each chuckle and shared story chipped away at the residents' initial hesitance. Still, the question that had hung in the air during their meeting nagged at Elijah incessantly: could Schuyler be trusted? One afternoon, Elijah found himself driving to the city park, the sun slowly sinking beneath the horizon. The golden hues painted the sky, yet the warmth did little to quell the storm of thoughts swirling inside him. He parked under a broad oak tree, its branches swaying gently. Maybe some fresh air would clear his mind. As he walked the path, he spotted Schuyler sitting on a bench, his silhouette outlined by the fading light. A mix of emotions roiled in Elijah's chest. He felt a compulsion to approach, yet a hesitance anchored his steps. Finally, he took a seat beside Schuyler, who looked up, surprised yet pleased. "Hey, Elijah," Schuyler greeted, his voice a soft balm that eased the tension brewing inside Elijah. "Hey. Just needed some time to think, I guess," Elijah confessed, looking down at the ground. Silence enveloped them briefly, the rustling leaves creating a peaceful backdrop. Then Schuyler broke the stillness. "I know you're worried. Trust doesn't come easy, especially after everything that happened." Schuyler's sincerity wrapped around Elijah like a familiar blanket. "I want to believe you, Sky. I really do," Elijah admitted, swallowing back a knot in his throat. But he hesitated, choosing his words with care. "What if you're just saying things to win us over? I can't keep seeing you as the guy who hurt us. I need to know that you're in this for the long haul." Schuyler nodded, his gaze intense. I get it. I messed up before, and I can't change that. All I can do is show you that I'm different now. That this community means more to me than anything. Elijah studied Schuyler's face, searching for a hint of insincerity, but all he found was deep-rooted resolve, an earnestness that cut through his doubts. Have you thought about what you'd want to see come out of this? Schuyler asked, his voice gentle yet probing. Of course, Elijah replied, his passion igniting. I want better opportunities for our youth, a space where they can find support and mentorship. I want people to feel rooted here, to have pride in where they come from. Schuyler's brow furrowed. I'll help with that. I really will. But we need to put the past behind us, start anew, he urged, the quiet strength in his voice enticing Elijah to consider the possibility. The sun dipped lower, casting warm shadows around them. Elijah's heart swelled with a flicker of hope, mingled with constant apprehension. Could they really forge a path forward? Could they conquer the ghosts of what had already been? All right, Elijah declared, his voice firm yet hopeful. Let us work towards that vision. As they left the park, Elijah felt lighter. But he knew this was just the beginning, a hopeful start on an uncertain road. The question remained, would their shared vision withstand the test of time, or was this just another moment destined to crumble? The future awaited, filled with potential and fear, as they stepped into the next chapter, together navigating the murky waters of trust and change. But the real test would come sooner than they thought. One unexpected twist might just shake their foundations. Elijah woke early the next morning, the sunlight filtering through his curtains casting warm patches on his floor. His heart raced with anticipation. Today marked the start of their outreach program. He scrambled out of bed, thoughts of the potential impact igniting a fire in his belly. They'd gather young people from the community, offering workshops and mentorship sessions. This was what they had envisioned, the chance to transform lives and pull the community closer together. After a quick breakfast, he met Schuyler outside his house. The air was crisp, and the excitement hung thick like mist. Schuyler was bouncing on the balls of his feet, a grin plastered across his face. Ready to change the world? He joked, his enthusiasm contagious. Just a small part of it, Elijah replied, his smile growing. They drove to the community center, the streets lined with colorfully painted houses. Elijah noticed the mural on the side of a building, bright and bold, depicting unity and strength. It was a mirror of their mission. But a whisper of doubt still lingered at the back of his mind. As people began to arrive, he took a deep breath, trying to shake it off. Inside, laughter mingled with chatter. Young teens drifted in, some with wide eyes, others rolling there with skepticism. Elijah ushered them into a circle, and as he spoke, he noticed Schuyler lingering at the edges, observing. As soon as Elijah ended his introduction with an invitation for Schuyler to share, the energy shifted. Schuyler stepped forward, his passion spilling over as he spoke about second chances and personal growth. Elijah watched the room. At first, some still seemed unsure, but eventually, a few nods and smiles emerged. Schuyler's words practically shimmered, like sunlight breaking through clouds. It was a reminder for Elijah of why they were doing this. Each person in that room had the potential for change. After the presentation, they broke into smaller groups for the workshop. Elijah moved from one session to the next, facilitating discussions, inspiring encouraging words. He felt alive in those moments, as if he was catching fire with their shared enthusiasm. Yet, he couldn't ignore the nagging feeling clawing at him. Later in the day, during a break, Elijah spotted a young woman sitting alone at a table. Her eyes were clouded with something deeper than just uncertainty. He approached her, offering a smile. "Hey, are you enjoying it so far?" She shrugged, her fingers tracing the outline of the paper in front of her. "I guess. It's just hard to believe change can happen around here." Elijah's stomach twisted. "I know how you feel. Trust me, I had doubts too. But change starts small. Just one step at a time, you know." "I want to believe that," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. As he prepared to respond, Skylar wandered over, his energy infectious. "You're doing great, Elijah. Mind if I jump in?" The shift in her expression was almost electric. He had seen it in others too. Skylar's presence formed bridges. But what would happen when the past came rushing back? Elijah's heart sank at the thought, suddenly feeling the weight of the responsibility that lay ahead. As the day unfolded, there were glimpses of magic and connection. People laughed, shared stories, and began to weave a tapestry of dreams and hopes. Yet inside Elijah, a storm brewed. What if this was just the calm before chaos? What if trust would break again like it had before? The day drew to a close, and Elijah stood outside, watching the last of the young people leave, hopeful yet uneasy. He shared a look with Skylar, who seemed buoyed by the day's success. "What do you think?" Skylar asked, a mix of hopefulness and apprehension in his tone. "I think we're on the right path," Elijah replied, his heart pounding. "But I can't help but worry about what's lurking in the shadows." Their shared journey was just beginning, but the whispers of the past echoed louder than before. And as they moved forward, Elijah couldn't shake the feeling that the real test, the unexpected twist, was yet to come. Would the ties they formed withstand the looming shadows, or would they be stretched too thin once again? Elijah stood in front of his auto shop, sunlight streaming down on the gathered crowd, casting a warm glow over their anxious faces. Today was not just any day, it was the day they would present their community's vision to Avenue Tech. The stakes felt impossibly high. He could almost hear the heartbeats of his neighbors echoing around him, a symphony of nervous excitement and determination. Grace stood next to him, her presence radiating strength. "We've got this," she whispered, her fingers entwined with his. He squeezed her hand tightly, drawing courage from her unwavering support and the fierce belief that they'd built together. "Let's take back what's ours," Elijah declared, and the crowd roared in agreement, fueled by a shared passion that radiated throughout Willow Creek. Their love for this town and each other had blossomed in the face of adversity, transforming the struggle against gentrification into a rallying cry for unity and hope. As they entered the town hall for the critical meeting, Elijah's mind raced. His heart pounded with questions. Would Avenue Tech truly listen? Could they understand the depth of what was at stake? A cacophony of voices filled the space, as others settled into their seats, gathering around the long table. The mayor quickly called the meeting to order, his expression serious. Elijah took a deep breath as the representatives from Avenue Tech sat across the table, their polished shoes and tailored suits in stark contrast to the well-worn jeans and hopeful faces of the community. "Let's get to the heart of the matter," the mayor said, glancing at Elijah. "Elijah, we all know you have a unique perspective. Please share with us your vision for the future." Elijah rose, heart racing, his throat dry. He locked eyes with Grace, feeling the warmth of her smile breaking through his nervousness. Stepping forward, he spoke from an open heart, pouring everything he had into his words. "This isn't just about saving a mechanic's shop or preserving buildings. This is about saving our community's soul, the laughter of children, the love for our elders, the shared stories that knit us together. We want to work with you, Avenue Tech, but you have to understand we won't compromise who we are." His voice dripped with emotion, trembling with a raw intensity that captured the room. Every face reflected understanding, their powerful connection shimmering like a pulse that echoed Elijah's words. Skylar stood next to him, shadowing Elijah's passion with palpable energy. "Together," he affirmed, taking Elijah's lead, "we can forge a path that respects the spirit of Willow Creek while still embracing change." The community burst into applause, their voices a waterfall of hope cascading through the hall. The representatives from Avenue Tech exchanged glances. The air grew thick with tension as one of them, a sharp-eyed woman named Lisa, leaned forward. "We hear your concerns. But the future demands innovation and development. We can't accommodate every desire." Elijah felt a wave of uncertainty crash over him, but Grace's hand squeezed his reassuringly. He couldn't let this be the end. "Unless you're ready to partner with us," he countered, "nothing will change." We want to work together to develop a plan that uplifts our community without erasing its identity. Lisa's eyebrows knit together, a flash of genuine contemplation crossing her face as she regarded the eagerness radiating from the group behind him. I appreciate your passion. Perhaps we can explore a partnership, but we need actionable details. Let us help you draft those details, Grace chimed in, her voice steady, calm, yet full of power. We want to be part of the dialogue, not just subjects of decisions being made in a boardroom. We can create a crossroad where innovation meets the spirit of our heritage. Elijah felt a tremor of hope ripple through him, catching like wildfire among the crowd. The mayor leaned back in his chair, watching the scene unfold, nodding in approval at the burgeoning sense of alliance in the air. Moments passed, filled with fervent discussions, laughter, and ideas bouncing around like sparks during a summer storm. As the meeting continued, Elijah could see a flicker of change in Lisa's eyes, a realization that perhaps this could be a true collaboration. When the session drew to a close, Elijah felt the weight of the world lift from his shoulders. As they gathered outside, bathed in sunlight, laughter erupted among neighbors. They embraced, celebrating a moment that felt not only momentous but transformative. Skylar approached Elijah and Grace, a proud grin on his face. You guys were incredible. This could actually be something amazing, he said, then turned serious. But one more thing, we need to ensure they follow through. We can't let our voices fade away. Elijah nodded, determination surging through him. Then we'll keep pushing, we'll stay organized, show them every step of the way how vital this is. Together. Together. The word felt like a promise, anchoring their spirits into a shared commitment for the future. As sunset painted the sky in rich oranges and purples, they stood hand in hand, Elijah, Grace, and Skylar, ready to face what lay ahead. They built something worth fighting for: community, love, and a brighter future. The warmth in Elijah's heart was palpable, a robe sewn from hope and compassion. He turned to Grace, her radiant smile lighting his world. We really can make this happen, can't we? He asked. Absolutely, she replied, softly squeezing his hand. The crowd cheered in the distance, a joyful cacophony celebrating the beginning of something extraordinary. And as Elijah gazed into the sunset, he realized that even through uncertainty, love and community would guide them home. The battle had just begun, but Elijah knew deep down together, they would emerge stronger. This is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others join our journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below, we want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Remember, true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.